Spring Television. Ours it is.
All right, happy Monday, happy new week. Welcome to another beautiful, blissful week right here on Western Spring Television. Thank you so much for starting your day, your Monday, and your week with us on Morning Spring, where we bring it to you as it is. We tell you what is dropping when it drops, as it drops, and from the real source. My name is Emmanuel Ujadugale. Thank you so much for spending your time with us this morning. You already know what we do for you on the show. We bring to you happenings around you in the socio-political and socio-economic sphere, even the social-cultural. And we try to make sense of these issues for you to give you a better perspective and help you understand them in a broader way. You can follow us live on social media, on Facebook and Instagram. You can search for Western Spring Television. On Twitter at WSTV_NG. And of course, you can check out our YouTube channel, or you can catch up on past episodes of this program and other interesting programs. And do well to subscribe, do well to spread the word. And you can also watch us live on Star Times channel 190 on the DTT platform. Thank you so much for beginning your Monday with us.
Well, I will start by saying thank God that you all survived the weekend, the hardship of the fuel crisis and the cash crunch. I'm Temitope Ajalaluwa, and thank you for joining us this morning. Mano, how are you?
Well, I'm obviously not fine. As you can see, I'm very much affected by some of the things happening in this country. You know, it's just a lot of pressure, a lot of hardship, and you can apart from feeling your own problems, you also feel the pain of other people. You know, when you hear stories, when you read stories, it's just unfortunate. People slumping in banks, people. You know, it's just so saddening, you know.
It has a way of weighing down on us all.
Yes. Well, you know that we have 3 segments on the program, and we just hope that the government does enough to rectify all of the issues affecting us as people. You know, we pray that the government does enough to bring back the good times, or at least the manageable and comfortable times. We have the papers ready for you. After that, we'll be going over to the interview segment. And of course, you'll be joining me on Spring Trends to know who is trending, what is trending, why they're trending, and what people are saying about the who, the what, and the why. When we get back from this break, we'll bring you the papers to stay with us. All right, welcome back to the show. Let's go straight to the papers that we have for you this morning. We'll begin with the Punch newspaper. The Punch newspaper, Monday, February 6, 2023, says Buhari under pressure to end failed Naira disasters. Governors in talks with presidency. Emefiele has reps mill emergency session. President must intervene. Crisis affecting turnout at rallies. Senators and reps. That story you have on pages 2 and 34. You can see now the real motives behind the agitation of the senators, of the people in the National Assembly.
Yes, I quite agree with them that the president must intervene quickly too, because the people are getting pushed to the wall now, and once they cannot take it anymore, they're going to just stand back and face the government squarely, and we're going to see, you know, a really bad backlash from the people, because it's really been disturbing. Really, people don't have access to their money, and so it's been hard all the while, but then now you have money, you can't even access it, you can't even feed well. It's really terrible. We have people rejecting transfers, and I'm sure it's because of the network issues surrounding that. So it's really tough, really. Well,
it is tough. It is tough. And when you see the videos coming out of different parts of the country, it reminds you of October 2020 and the period preceding that. This was how it began. You know, ordinary people just being frustrated, very agitated, and of course, sad. I like to use that word, so because the sadness is, I mean, you can't use your own money, your own hard-earned money that you decided to keep with a particular bank, but you can't access it for some reason. You can't buy food. You can't, move around. In addition to the fact that there's still a fuel scarcity. You know,
Really?
in addition to the fact that there is no electricity, in addition to the fact that security is, at least give people one thing to cheer about. You know, it's really sad. The president must act, except of course we don't have a president, which I don't know, it seems to not be true. It does appear as if we have a president. Probably doesn't, is clueless at the moment, and if he is clueless, he should probably step aside or seek help. You know, go outside, ask people to help you. The same way he likes to travel out for medical tourism and all of those
Yes,
enjoyments
I
that he
was
goes
thinking
for.
this morning that we probably have reached a time in our society where we need to contract our leadership out because we seem not to have capable hands.
Yes, they've all failed, you know, from the president to the people in the National Assembly down to those heading government parastatals. And the fact that we hold on to terrible government despite our failures is what really baffles me. I mean, it is on record that a British Prime Minister resigned 45 days after office because she cannot continue. She could not continue. She did not see herself delivering on her campaign promises. The Prime Minister of Jacinda Ardern, she had a second term of 5 years. She had just spent 2 years, and then she chose to resign because she felt, in her own words, she no longer has enough in the tank. That's how leadership is. But here, even when they are obviously failing terribly, woefully, you still see them clinging on to
Even
power.
when they've outlived their tenure, they
Yes.
still want to
be
renew.
relevant.
Exactly.
It is very sad. And the senators and reps are not saying that the crisis are affecting people's ability to get money, people's ability
Yes.
to eat. Their major concern
at rallies
is that it's affecting turnout at rallies. It is a silly thing to say, you know,
So
to even
there's really
to
no
give priority to.
genuine concern
At all.
It's about themselves still.
It is really. I don't want to use certain words, but sometimes you get frustrated, and then you know that these people are not even affected by it. You know? Like the APC man said last week, Thursday or Friday or thereabout. I don't think Peter Obi has a problem with cash. I don't think Atiku has a problem with cash. I don't
Neither
think
does
Tinubu
Tinubu
has it. I don't think so.
That.
But it is those of us who are at the middle or lower rung of the ladder who will have problems with this. And we're beginning to hear certain stories from different parts accusing Emefiele of feeding President Buhari false information. And I begin to wonder who the president is being fed false information.
How?
What exactly is false information?
Exactly.
Who is that? Means the president is
Just
on the
sits in a place and then it leaves the government for other people to run.
So whatever
because
you
I
tell
think
him
the
is what he
government,
does.
the president should have access to, the dailies
Does the
on
president
whatever.
know? He strikes me as an unaware person, someone who doesn't care for. He has made that clear
declaration
that he doesn't
over
care
time.
what happens.
I'm not aware. It says that a lot.
And then, funnily, we have another presidential candidate who says he doesn't like social media because people insult him. So you can see that Nigeria is on the trajectory. It may be well, it may not be well. Whatever it is, we pray that those of us who are ordinary people can afford at least the basic things of life. Well, away from Buhari's failure and his pressure that is under to end this crisis, you have very disturbing pictures there of overcrowded Abuja schools where pupils learn on bare floor. That's pupils of LEA Primary School, Lugbebi Zone 9 in Abuja, sitting on the floor while learning under leaking roofs.
This is
on
not
Wednesday.
a remote area, Emmanuel. This is part of the metropolis, Lugbe.
The
And we
capital
have
territory.
this in the capital territory. I'm not even expecting anywhere in Abuja to have this.
Well, you know that some parts of Abuja are still remote. Even at that,
It's a
this
school.
is the most terrible thing that can happen to
If
us.
the government really, we should have seen that. If the government could not deliver well on education, I wonder what the government would deliver well on.
I mean, security is even terrible in Abuja.
Yes,
There are bandits moving around,
Very terrible.
taking people, causing issues. And then you look at the implication of this for education. On Saturday, one of our shows, we had a very young person who's a lecturer. I think he's 21 or thereabout, lecturer at a popular university. students like this cannot aspire to be a teacher. They cannot aspire to be lecturers. They cannot aspire to have anything to do with the education sector because they are being brought up the wrong way. It wouldn't take, and you see, funny thing is, you have major financiers of political campaigns, people who are not politicians themselves, but who have enough money to throw around backing people who may not even win the election. And then there are things like this that need to be solved. Children these are children, like really, really young children.
Yes.
They need education.
So it just goes to say that whatever would not benefit people, they're not ready to invest in it. They're not ready to put their money in it.
It is unfortunate, and we call on well-meaning Nigerians, people of means, to all over the country, even here in Osun State, a particular school, I think Ethiopian High School, has the same problem. Pupils learning, in fact, under the trees because their classrooms are terrible.
Yeah.
You know.
And here it says leaking roofs as well.
Yes.
So it's a school that's staying
under the sky. Well, at the bottom strip of the Punch newspaper, police FBI hunt killers of Nigerian pastor's wife. That's on page 5. Police FBI hunt killers of Nigerian pastor's wife. Page 5 of the newspaper. Above the nameplate, interim government illegal, parties warn federal government. Page 8 of the Punch newspaper. I've been hearing some rumors, some stories of a possibility of election not holding, and then the federal government constituting an interim government. That would set us back way years into pre-1999 when we had the Ernest Shonekan's interim government, Abdulsalam Abubakar and the rest. It's not a good story coming out from the political sector.
It's not. And then it's something that is obvious anyway. When you see the attack in Katsina, when you see the attack in other parts, even in, I think, Ondo, during the weekend, you know that some parts of Nigeria are not safe at all. They're not safe. And what those people will be thinking about is not election. It's their safety first. I don't even expect them to come out for elections, probably because of grievance. I would expect that is shown. I wouldn't expect them to come out for elections because they're even in their houses. They've been mobbed. They've been attacked. So what's the essence of coming out for elections? And so if that is happening, I don't see how, if it goes, really deep, if we have it, in several places at the time, the elections really might not hold in those places. And I wonder what elections we're having there.
Well, it is worrisome that this warning is being, I think it's a preemptive warning just to get people to start asking questions and probably put pressure on the federal government to shelve any such plans. So that's on page 8 of the Punch newspaper. You can get that story there. On page 31, telecom subscribers sue government over tax. Page 31. An extension, INEC silent as PVC collection ends. As on page 25, one of my favorite countdowns ended yesterday, February 5th, 2023. That was the deadline for the collection of the permanent voters cards, and we must give kudos to INEC.
Yes.
The original date was January 22nd. They extended by a week to 29th, and then another week to February 5th. And at this point, you cannot fault them if they refuse to extend again. I mean, they've given us enough time.
I'm not expecting any extension from INEC, except it's going to be a watered down and compromised situation now. But INEC has done well so far. Yes,
INEC has done well. Away from INEC, the last story on the face of the Punch newspaper this morning, it says, Najatu chased Tinubu to London for PCC appointment, coming from Keyamo. Festus Keyamo is the spokesperson of the APC Presidential Campaign Council. And the director of the civil society, the head of the civil society directorate of that council, recently tendered a resignation. And Najatu there are saying some very funny things about Tinubu, saying he cannot hold his cup, he's not fit, is this and that. And there's been some back and forth between herself and some members of the PCC. Now Keyamo is revealing that she chased Tinubu to London. You see, that's the thing with politicians. They never do you good and forget about it.
They never. It's always a vindictive game at the end of the day. When you're in the same camp, nothing is wrong with you. But once you're out, once you step out of the camp, you have everything wrong with you then.
Well, I think that Keyamo has the habit of trying to blackmail people. I wouldn't say blackmail now, but trying to ridicule people who have somewhat benefited from himself or from his paymasters. I remember clearly when he had the run-in with, I think, Idris Abdul Karim, either Idris or Abdul Karim or Rugged Man, and he came out with screenshots of text messages where the singer was asking him for financial aid for his mother's health and all that. But those things are unnecessary. It's childish.
Yes.
People have said Keyamo is childish, and daily he proves to toe that line. This is unnecessary. But he also chased certain appointments. I mean, for a man who sued the Lagos Assembly in 1999 for clearing Bola Tinubu, he shouldn't even be talking. He's a hypocrite. If you sued a legislature for clearing someone to run for government over forgery of documents, how come you're defending the same man many years down the line?
Obviously, he has found out eventually that the forgery was false.
Either that or some things have changed hands. Well, that's all on the Punch newspaper this morning.
All right, moving on quickly to the Daily Trust. We have the banner headline saying, bandits attack, 71 buried in Katsina communities. And now the riders, more still missing, 27 women kidnapped. We are left on our own. That's locals saying that. Buhari article condemn attack. Well, for me, more of this condemnation are mere words of mouth now. No actions to back them up and nothing. Imagine the numbers of people buried in Katsina over the week.
Yes, 71 people.
That's alarming. And we have 27 women already kidnapped, and they're still there.
Well, so, that's one thing we need to commend the Daily Trust newspaper for. Always constantly reminding us of the fact that we're in trouble.
Yes.
We're in trouble. Even though it seems to be more pervasive in the north, the truth is that we are in trouble. Because we're one country.
Yes.
Whatever happens up north affects down south.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you could see when the road was blocked and the nomads decided that they were not shipping cattle or food. I think that was last year or 2 years ago. There was a hike in price. So whatever happens up there happens. These are not just birds. These are not animals. There are 71 people. Like you always say, 71 direct families affected, and multiple other families affected, buried as a result of bandit attacks that are incessant. And I don't know why. This is the president's own state. One would expect that in the president's hometown, in the president's state, because he is president, some things should not, even if it's not the right way, or at least some things should change. But this is terrible. And the 27 women who were kidnapped, we cannot just begin to
understand what they're going through, right?
The physical and mental problems that they would be going through. And then this condemnation of the attack by Buhari and Atiku is just, I mean, you don't condemn what you could have prevented in the first place.
Yes.
We're more reactive than we are proactive. And it's very sad. You can see the disturbing graphics. There's 7 affected communities in Bakori local government, 7 of them there. And see the locals saying that they've been left on their own by, of course, the government that should be protecting them.
Yes. And that's why we cannot, it's really not something that should come as a shock when the government visited his own hometown and it was
Yes, there's a lot of frustration around there.
Yes. All right, just away from that, the bottom strip of the paper says, Badaru appoints Sanusi as new emir of Duse. That's more of that is on page 5. All right, Naira crisis, reps may reconvene before elections, Gbajabiamila. I think my problem here is the fact that they may reconvene. It should be a recurring thing all through the period of the crisis. As much as the people are in distress, they perhaps need to keep having all this back and forth meetings with stakeholders to really get to the root of this and solve it really before things blow up.
Yes, they need to solve it before there's an outburst. You know, it's like the dam is full, the dam is overflowing already and it's about to burst. But the reps, most of them are seeking re-election. And so they have their campaigns to run.
Imagine.
You know, and you know that they are highly placed enough to not necessarily lack these things. They can get them. Again,
so what will be the basis for the re-election that is seek?
but that's the problem with our people, the electorate. That's the problem.
You know, I'm really looking forward to the dynamics of this coming election, how people will make informed decisions on whom they choose to elect.
Unfortunately, because of our religious and ethnic sentiments, we have failed to see beyond our noses. And that has somehow crippled our ability to make informed decisions. In an ideal situation, a government that has failed woefully, a government that has reversed the gains of years before it came. I mean, Buhari spent the first 1-2 years of his administration blaming the PDP's 16 years. But his key ministers, some of them were in the PDP. Rotimi Amechi was a 2-time PDP governor, was a Speaker of the House of Assembly in Rivers State on the platform of the PDP. But he's one of the key members of the cabinet. So why are you still blaming the PDP? You met the dollar rate at 120 or thereabouts, go 800 now. You took petrol from 185 to 600 naira now. You took a bag of rice from 15,000-20,000 to what it is now. Ideally, the people should vote along this line. Security is terrible. You can't go to bed with your eyes closed. You can't build your house in peace. The people should vote along these lines, but they don't. They won't. The vote is from our area. The vote, he practices the same religion with me. When you do that, you shortchange yourself. You mortgage your future and that of your children by putting by putting someone who may not be able to solve the problem there, someone whom you did not vote on the basis of competence, but on the basis of some other sentiment. And then when things go wrong, you begin to complain. Meanwhile, you caused it yourself. So that's the problem when these men are saying that they may reconvene. Of course, they don't have a problem that we have. The speaker flies everywhere he's going. He has a convoy that is constant. He drives into any filling station today and they will attend to him first. He goes into any bank today, he will get the cash. So they don't really care about the ordinary people.
So I guess it's left to the people to, seize their own destinies, in their hands and make, good out of it. All right, just on page, I really can't see that page right now. All right, 6 killed, property razed as gunmen attack Ondo villages. So, like I was saying, Ondo also had their own fair share of insecurity issues over the weekend as well, and properties were also destroyed. And
that's what I meant when I was saying that whatever affects people in the north will affect us in the south, because some of these bandits are displaced by the efforts of the Nigerian Army and Air Force, and they come down south. They are not trained vocationally. They don't have any soft skills. They would go back to the life they've been living, the life of crime. And so people down south have to pay the price for it. I mean, the war killings are still fresh in our minds, And then now you're seeing people just going about their own businesses and they're killed. Very terrible situation there.
Another sad one here. 1 injured as thugs attack Adamawa governor's wife's convoy. And I know that this might gain more attention than the ones we've been talking about, than the 71 people that were buried. than the 6 people that were killed in Ondo. This is the sorts of things that we see. All right, but just below the nameplates, quickly, PDP, APC bicker over Tinubu struggles for democracy. A lot of back and forth between the PDP and APC, and it's always about their own struggles, not the people's. And then just on page 24, airlines blocked funds, travel agents fright over $500 million revenue, 721,000 job losses. And it's still more crisis for the people, more sad news. People are still losing their jobs in numbers. Cancer kills 700,000 Africans every year, WHO has said so, the World Health Organization. We've been having some concerns about cancer, being going to be prominent.
Yeah, it was a World Cancer Day over the weekend, and then some stories, some amazing facts, some scary facts about cancer, came up, and it speaks to the fact that we also, as people, need to invest in early detection. Don't dismiss any signs. I'm not a doctor, so I can't tell you what signs to look out for. But then, for women, there's lumps and all of that. But if you feel any type of way at all, the least thing you should do is self-medicate. You should go seek proper medical diagnosis. Well, let's move on to the Guardian. We'll just run through the stories there. Foil naira scarcity depletes productivity, worsens inflation. And you see a number of riders there. ASCSN, more workers to sit at home over intolerable fares not producing will lead to food shortage, retrenchment, says Food Union. Economy has disenfranchised MSMEs. We're starving, Nigerians lament. Protests playing into hands of those seeking election shift. NLC president warns. Government making mockery of monetary system, says NECA. House may reconvene before February 25th elections over cash crunch, says Bajabiamila. Falana, activist, one of social unrest. Afenifere Buhari's 7-day request to resolve currency crisis too long, as on page 6 of the paper. Article tasks CBN on naira availability, warns against bullion ban tendencies, and IPOB alleges plan to attack Atiku in the southeast. And below the nameplate, 20 million naira to treat cancer case, 1 million naira for radiotherapy. If you need any reason to invest in early detection and prevention, here is your reason. 20 million naira to treat it, 1 million for radiotherapy, and the other, hospital cost.
Aminatu, the legendary Queen of Zazzau, is best known to historians as Queen Amina of Zaria, an old walled town and capital of the Hausa state of Zazzau. Amina was a great warrior and the first woman to rule the ancient kingdom of Zazzau. Her 34 years as queen witnessed an unprecedented expansion of Zazzau by conquests. Queen Amina of Zaria belongs to the class of Amazons by the might of Harami and her strings of conquests. She opened Zaria to trans-border trade and was said to have initiated kola nut cultivation in the ancient kingdom. The Hausa Muslim figure was born in 1533 and died in 1610 at the age of 77 years. Folklores remember Aminatu, the Queen of Zazzau, as a brave, smart and talented leader whose giant statue now adorns the National Arts Theatre in Lagos, Nigeria, while many educational institutions bear her name. Western Spring Television identifies Queen Amina as a watershed character in history. Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela was an anti-apartheid activist who gave his all for the elimination of what has been described as the world's most vicious rule of the unjust and man's inhumanity against man. He was born July 18, 1918 in Mvezo, South Africa, educated and trained as a successful legal practitioner. He took up the gauntlet of a human activist against segregation by the minority of white supremacist arrest in South Africa at the climax of his trial for treason orchestrated by the minority South African government. The great crusader for democratic equality was prepared to pay the supreme sacrifice to establish majority rule in his native land. He told white jurists that if achieving freedom for his people was worth his life, he was prepared to die. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in Robben Island, described as the most notorious prison in the world. It was from this same prison that he came out as a free man to assume office as South Africa's first black president in 1994. Western Spring Television identifies Nelson Mandela as a watershed character in history.
All right, welcome back to the show, Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. Well, it's another very beautiful day to continue the conversation around us, around the socio-political and socio-economic happenings in the country. Of course, you've been following the political scene. Temitope, you understand that there's a lot of issues with the two major political parties.
Yes, I think the first was the back and forth on the candidacy, if it should be repealed or, if it should stand. We had the APC as well suing the presidential candidate yes. of the PDP over the SPV, and all of that. And we've also had, PDP as well doing the same to the presidential candidate of the APC on his documents and whether he should, all of that.
All right, well, that's that. Well, we are now joined live by our guest who will be joining us on phone to discuss, live on the phone, to discuss some of the issues that we have around the APC. Well, the APC seems to be having crisis within its rank, and we're joined live now by former Minister for Communications, Minister of Communications, Adebayo Shitu, joins us live. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning. Hello, good morning. Well, we're expecting that Dr. Adebayo Shitu joins us on the show this morning to talk about, he was a member of the PDP, Buhari's first term, of the APC rather, Buhari's first term. He was a minister there. And of course, so it means that he has an in-depth knowledge of the APC, both as a politician and as a cabinet member. And some of the things coming out of the APC, like we read on the Guardian newspaper, ex-aspirants telling the APC to ignore El-Rufai's outpost at their peril. Well, we're told that we're joined again by Dr. Adebayo Shitu, former Minister for Communications. Good morning, Dr. Shitu.
Good morning. Please speak aloud.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. Can you hear me now?
I'm hearing you. Please be consistently speaking to the microphone.
Oh, all right then. So let's begin with what you make of the crisis affecting your party at the moment, the All Progressives Congress. What do you make of the outburst by both the presidential candidate and some governors that he has in his ranks?
Well, really, a lot of people expect that in political parties we will continue to have the silence of the graveyard. Political parties the APC, for instance, is made up of more than 40 million people. You don't expect all of these people to see things from the same perspective all of the time. And when issues are affecting Nigeria generally arise, you expect people to make comments. I think the issue of the so-called suspected, people frustrating, allegedly trying to frustrate, is an issue which arose and which particularly El-Rufai mentioned, and the wife of the president also supported it. I have also had cause to make a lot of comments on this in various.
All right, this opposing view.
Because vigilance is the eternal price of liberty, as is often said. So some of our governors were very vigilant, and once they raised the issue, I mean, people who were suspected to want to frustrate are made count, as it were. So for me, there's no crisis in the party. We are still going on, to victory by the grace of God.
All right, since you have said this opposing views, people having different views in your party is inevitable, how do you see it affecting your party positively or negatively in the coming elections?
I am telling you, even Mr. President came out to pledge. Mr. President came out to pledge that Nigerians should give him 7 days within which to settle the issue of, currency availability. And you would also recall that subsequently, Mr. President also attended the National Rally. I mean, so there's no crisis. It's not, I think there's a crisis that can tear the party apart.
Well, we're talking about tearing the party apart now. Governor El-Rufai of Kaduna State did say last week that there were some elements within the presidency, within the Aso Villa, working against the party's victory at the polls. Do you have an idea as to who and what Governor El-Rufai may have been making reference to?
El-Rufai made the appropriate statement. There's no point, digging deeper, more so that Mr. President come out. Because, I mean, the issue that El-Rufai felt concerned about is the currency non-availability to Nigerians, which opposition parties were cashing in on, taking advantage of it and telling Nigerians, look at how APC is doing. I mean, what APC is doing. It was not APC. It was government decision. It's not every member of APC that is in the Buhari government. I mean, people should get this right. I mean, what we have is the Buhari government. Of course, Buhari is a member of the party. But all party members are not necessarily vicariously liable for whatever government does. Because some other member of the party government would have done things differently.
Well, there are those who say that since the president is the #1 party man and he oversees the affairs of the country, he should have been able to sort out these issues, particularly asking for 7 days. The Afenifere has just released a statement saying that 7 days request is too long to solve the crisis.
Yes, you would agree with me that across the country things are getting better. Asking for 7 days or so many is going to wait for 7 days before he takes action. And if it will be true, if people will be true to their conscience, things are the last 3 days.
Aladi, when you say things are getting better, right there in Oyo State, in Ibadan, the capital of Oyo State, there are protests, every now and then. Same thing across the country. In fact, over the weekend, Governor Seyi Makinde had to provide free buses for people to cushion the effect of the fuel scarcity and the cash crunch. How do you mean that things?
I mean, are you saying you are in Nigeria?
Now let's get back to your party now as a whole. Governor Abdullahi Ganduje of Kano State was also in the news recently. He lent credence to what Governor El-Rufai said, and he particularly spoke about the currency redesign and said that the president, who is being surrounded by those who are saying certain things to him. And then just recently, I think yesterday or thereabout, former national chairman of the party, Adams Oshimole, and SA to the president, Ajuri Ngelale, said that the president was being fed false information. How does the president, the commander-in-chief, get fed false information and then he acts on it? How does that happen? You were a minister in his cabinet.
You said I was the minister. I'm actually a minister.
No, I'm asking you.
I need to know who are feeding him.
No, I'm asking you that Alhaji, is it possible for the president, with the level of information, the gatekeeping and the process he has around him, to be fed false information? Is that possible?
Of course, he's a human being, and people around could be mischievous. I mean, of course, he's possible. He's a human being. He's not perfect. He's not an angel, and he's not God. And those who spoke because of their feeling, of their suspicion. And because they were right, Mr. President came out to make pledges. If they were not right, Mr. President would not have made the pledge that Nigerians would give him 7 days. Within which to correct the past.
All right. My colleague will take it now.
All right, sir. As a Nigerian first, before being a politician, what have you figured to be the source of this, crisis, in the country, and what do you think are the lasting solutions to this? To
the fuel scarcity, I think one problem that we have not been able to, repair all the fuel refineries. I don't have an answer for that because I'm not in government. I'm not working within the oil industry, so I don't know why. I think the question should be directed to government. But with regard to the currency redesign, there's no doubt that the timing was very, very wrong. The timing was wrong, but the mistake has been made, and the president has pledged that things will be sorted out. So let us give Nigeria, let us give Mr. President 7 days, 7 days. Out of the 7 days, 3 have gone. So we hope that within this new week, we will have an improvement.
Oh, well, so now let's look at the things happening in the country, Alhaji. What do you make of the fact that the ICPC, the FCC, and the police, and the CBN, the Joint Task Force now, have been consistently discovering saboteurs in the financial sector that are making it difficult for Nigerians to get the cash? Does it bother you that we've got into the jobs?
It bothers me as a Nigerian, and it really exposes that after government made the right decision at the wrong time, Nigerians themselves have shown that all the problems is not coming from the government. That individual Nigerians who are very opportunistic, who are very greedy, who work in the banking industry, have for their personal greed, for reasons of their personal greed, have been taking undue advantage to bring about distress to the ordinary Nigerians who need this money. It's not completely as if government or the central bank has not provided money to the bank. But that Nigerian bankers who are not in government, who are, working with banks, are taking undue advantage and oppressing Nigeria. And I expect that EFCC and ICPC will come down very, very hard on these saboteurs and enemies of our society. I think.
All right, looking at all the insecurity issues we're having across the country as well. Just in Katsina over the weekend, 71 people were buried, 27 women were kidnapped as well. And in Ondo State, 6 people were also buried and properties were razed. Your party has been in government for about 8 years now, and nothing significant has really been done on curbing this insecurity issues in the country. What do you say to that? What do you say to that?
Honestly, I have not heard you well. You are talking about insecurity.
Yes.
What type of insecurity are you talking about?
We've had banditry, we've had cases of kidnap, we've had gunmen attacking communities, across the country. Your